Do you want to make a chocolate cake from scratch that takes no time at all? Well, I've got the perfect recipe for you. This is the kind of cake where you mix the dry ingredients in one bowl, mix the wet ingredients in a separate bowl, and then mix them all together, stick them in the oven for like 30 minutes, and at the end you have a beautiful 3-layered cake that is scrumptious, moist, delicate, not too sweet, but the frosting, guys, that's made with real butter takes it over the top. Now let's get into the ingredients that we're gonna need. So are you guys drooling yet? Let me show you the ingredients that we're gonna need. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and I sifted it because the flour seemed heavy this time around. 2 cups of regular white sugar, 3/4 cup of baking cocoa. Over here we have 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that's all the dry ingredients right there, right? So now here are the wet. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of regular white milk, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 2 eggs, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You can trade this cup of water out for a cup of black coffee if you so desire, but I don't like it like that, all right? But you can do that if you want to. This is for the frosting, and this cake is nothing without the frosting, all right? 2 cups of confectioner sugar, 1 cup of butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 6 ounces of the baking chocolate. I always get the semi-sweet one. This is 4 ounces, so 2 boxes make 8 ounces. We need 1.5. So normally I will buy 3 boxes, use 1.5, and then put up the next 1.5 for when I want to make this cake again, which is usually right away. Now let Jory show this right here, so I can make sure that I have everything correct. Did it say 1/2 cup of vegetable oil? Yes. Have to make sure everything's correct. So this is from Jada's book, but we don't have any more for sale, all right? Now this is the tins that we're going to use. This is going to be a 3-layered cake. The batter is going to be very thin, so you have to use like shallow pans like this. So this is like 1.5 tall by 8 wide. And what I did was greased it, and instead of flouring it, I used baking cocoa as the flour, because a viewer taught me that years ago that when I'm making anything with chocolate, if I don't want the white flour to kind of show up on the cake, just use baking cocoa. So I've cut some of these that I'm going to put on the bottom of the tin, because again, this cake's very delicate. Now, I keep saying this cake's delicate, but it's not hard to make, all right? It's one of those cakes where you put the dry in one bowl, put the wet in another bowl, mix it all together, and we're ready. So let's start the oven. 350, and this is the bowl that I'm going to put all the dry in. By the way, I have a pot here, let me show you guys, filled with water, and a bowl that's heat safe that can sit right on top of it, and that's what we're going to be melting the chocolate in. If not, you can do the microwave, but I don't like that way. All right, so let's get started by mixing the dry. I'm starting off by adding the flour, but you don't need to put these ingredients in any particular order, okay? The baking cocoa I've sifted because that likes to get lumpy. 2 cups of granulated white sugar. And then next, my leavening agents, which is the baking powder and the baking soda. And let me not forget my salt. Now, I always put the dry ingredients in a tub like this. Then I mark the outer parts to say what the dry ingredients are, and then the wet is in the middle. And of course, the baking instructions is on the lid also, and I put that away like a box cake. Now let's take care of the wet ingredients. So first up is the milk. 1 cup of milk, and then 1 cup of water. Now remember, you can trade out the water for black coffee if you so choose. Don't forget the vegetable oil, the extract, and then my 2 eggs. I'm going to go ahead and whisk these separately first. And I do love the fact that this cake only uses 2 eggs, because that means you can make it even if you're going through a hard time, because it doesn't need like 5 eggs like some of the other cakes that I make here at the site. So put this in here. I'm going to grab a separate whisk. Notice how my whisks are really colorful. People donate this stuff to the show, all right? I'm so grateful for my viewers. So just let me go ahead and whisk this really well. I want to make sure that all the stuff is well incorporated before I add the wet. And then very slowly, because I don't want to, splash things everywhere. I'm just mixing it in. Put some more of the wet in. If you pour all of the wet in at once, it's going to become a sloppy mess and you're not going to be able to whisk it, all right? So just take your time with it. It's coming along nicely, guys. Add some more of the wet ingredients. And this batter is going to be super thin, all right? Don't panic, super thin. So because it's so thin, you're going to need 3 pans, 8 by 1.5 or 2 inches tall. And I've greased and floured it with the baking cocoa. Put the parchment paper in. I think I should have left the batter in that bowl that has the spout, but it's okay. We're just eyeballing. All right, let me go ahead and give some to this one because I think this one had less. Now it's time for the oven. It's up to temperature at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I always put one on the bottom shelf because I feel like my oven's not level, and when I put it in the back on the top shelf, the cake comes out lopsided. Set the timer for 30 minutes. Now we're going to take care of the frosting. This is the baking chocolate. This is a semi-sweet kind, and it's 1 ounce for each of these squares that I've showed you. My water is boiling. Make sure that the bowl that you're heating the chocolate in is heat safe. Let me put the rest away. I have 2 ounces to put away. So then to make another cake, I just need another box because it's 6 ounces, right? 1.5 boxes. And you don't even have to stir the chocolate. Let me just go ahead and stick this back in the fridge though. Let me get my hand mixer out because I'm going to need this to blend the frosting. I don't like doing this with the wooden spoon. It just takes too long and too much elbow grease. So I'm just checking on it. See, it's done. And it's super hot, so be careful. So we have 30 more minutes on the cake. Let me go ahead and take care of the frosting. The chocolate is hot right now, okay? So I have to be careful. And you could do this with a wooden spoon, but it's way easier to do it with this. All right, so blend away, mixing in the butter with the confectioner's sugar. And then the extract. And then I'm going to start adding the melted chocolate a little bit at a time. Just make sure that it's well incorporated. And then at some point, I'm just going to pick up the whole bowl of melted chocolate and just pour it in. I just wanted to get it started. So let me scrape down my bowl, guys. Every little bit of chocolate to put it in here so nothing will go to waste. Even get the little bit off the plate, all right? You want to use this chocolate while it's still warm because see how easy it was to handle? The bowl's still too hot. Let me get it. And soak everything immediately so the cleanup is easy. So this part, I wouldn't let the kids do this part because this is too hot for a kid to handle. Let me get these in the sink. I love taking this cake to every potluck that I get invited to because it's always a hit. People can't believe that I made it from scratch, or like, you're sure it's not from a box? No, very simple. And the reason that I don't put the coffee, to replace the water is because the coffee has a lot of caffeine and I have to watch my caffeine intake. Plus, I don't like the smell of coffee. I'm one of those weird people that don't like the smell of coffee. This is enough chocolate in this. All right, so when I come back, we'll be taking the cake out of the oven, allowing it to cool, and then frosting. All right, so it is done. Let's take a look at it. All it needs is 30 minutes, but I'm still checking. See, toothpick is clean. Get them out. And I have all these beautiful wire racks that was given to me by a viewer that has become a friend to me, Shanika. Hello, Shanika. How you doing? So it's cooled enough that I can take them out of the tins. And if you don't want the cakes to stick to this wire cooling rack, just go ahead and spray some oil on it or rub some oil on the wire cooling rack, all right? I'm not going to keep them here too long though. Get this other one out. Take off the parchment. And if you don't want the cake. And then after they're cooled, it's time to assemble. Put one cake face down. Put some of the frosting. And I'm using my offset spatula to just go ahead and spread it thinly. Put the other cake with the pretty side showing on top. Put some more frosting, because remember we have 3 layers. Spread this out. And I don't ever shave off parts of the cake to make the cake sit flat and all that good stuff, because I really don't, you know, for this one I can't do it because this cake is so delicate, but even the sturdier cakes, I kind of really suck at it. So you know what, just put it together. Put the frosting on top. And you could cover up anything that's happening if it's breaking or whatever, because we have enough frosting. And I always start off with a lot on the top first before I start putting anything on the sides, and I use my small spatula to do that. And because I'm not really great at frosting cakes and I can't put it on smoothly and all that stuff, I just mess it up like this. I suck at frosting cakes and I don't even want to learn. So it is what it is. So take a look at what I do to cover up my suckiness. I'll get like the little spatula like this and just kind of do swirls around and around. Or I'll get a spoon like this and I just make these little peaks. And that's just to cover up that I don't know how to like spread it smoothly. But see, it's having some texture, right? Now, people will tell you to put parchment paper under the cake, yada yada, so it doesn't mess up the plate. I've tried that with this cake, and I'll be honest with you guys, when I pull out the parchment paper, I'm making the cake crumble, so I don't do that. It just is what it is. But see how pretty that is, just to add some texture to it? Yes. You gotta know how to cover up your flaws, right? So I am gonna cut into this baby right now. Isn't that pretty? Joe, what do you think? Isn't that gorgeous? Mm-hmm. Okay, let me get a knife, cut into it, and let's see what we have. Now for the best part. So let's cut. And I always cut out a big chunk of the cake because I want you guys to see exactly what the cake looks like, all right? But this is by no means a serving slice. Oh my goodness, I think I outdid myself this time, guys. This cake is so gorgeous. It's so moist, so delicate, fluffy, just beautiful. I had to take it outside to take my pictures. Now let's taste. None for you, all for me. Without the frosting, to me, this cake doesn't taste sweet. I think it's because of the baking cocoa and so on and so on. But, oh Lord, with the frosting, it sets it off, guys. This is like the simplest cake, because you see how easy it is to make the cake, right? Mix the wet, mix the dry, put it all together, bake it 30 minutes. The frosting is a little bit more involved, but worth it. I hope you guys try it. Come back and tell me if you do. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys again next video. Bye. Say hello to Mama. Hi everybody.
This morning with one local family.
Each gonna sort of